Hi ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Super Chow Super Audio Show. Today, we're going to cover an IEM that is the amalgamation of all the good things that this company has provided us in terms of portable audio so far. That's right, today is yet another Moondrop Audio IEM review, and today we're going to talk about the Moondrop Variations. Let's go! Let me just start by talking about the build quality of these earphones, because in essence, the Variations is all the company can offer at this point of time. So they packed in all their juicy bit of technology. What is inside the heart of the Variations are these. It has one single liquid crystal polymer dynamic driver. Paired with it is two soft ears, specially customized balance armature, and on top of that are two electrostatic drivers. With that said, these earphones are a tri-brid design, and it's not common to see a tri-brid design at this price point. These earphones cost 520 American dollars. Moving on to the build of the earphone. The Variations is 3D printed and is done by this company called Hageas, which is a company that specializes in 3D printing things. And you can see from the quality of the Variations, the 3D print on the shells are excellent. It is not one of those where they only print the exterior of the IEM. Hageas actually print it all the way through, so it's literally like a solid block of plastic with cavities set in place for them to just put the drivers in, and this makes sure that the positioning of the drivers are ultra accurate. The chassis is ultra rigid, and what I like in particular about the chassis is that it comes in a very nice smoke black finish. On the exterior, this smoke effect actually creates a velvety sensation on my fingers, which I absolutely adore. And paired on top of it is a metal faceplate with some sort of tessellation pattern that is shown through the Moondrop Variations marketing. I'm not sure what that pattern is, but it looks rather nice. The Moondrop Variations also sport a 2-pin termination, so if you're the type of person who likes to cable roll, please feel free to do so. Now, the cable that comes with the Moondrop Variations has an awesome plug-like design where you can change the connectors, be it 3.5, 2.5 or 4.4, but what I absolutely do not like about this design is that it is basically only friction fits and done so in a manner where you try to remove the plugs, they feel like you're gonna destroy the cable. Trust me, it feels very, very tight. Not in a good way, where you remove it, you literally feel like you're gonna destroy them. The cable is made of a copper material, and honestly I think Moondrop is very smart to use a copper cable for these IEMs, because these IEMs really do need a good copper cable. So moving on to fit, the fit of the Moondrop Variations is kind of standard these days. It is the custom universal shape that is very popular, but I really find it to be kind of overdone these days. I'm kind of bored of that at this point of time. But with that said, fit to me is actually okay, but there is one point of contention though, one thing that everybody needs to take note. The nozzle of the Moondrop Variation is huge. Like huge, I mean huge, where most normal ear tips are not big enough to fit on the nozzle. Not a good look, especially when I close in on how my ear tips look on the nozzle. It looks really stretched out. But nothing to be alarmed. The ear tips that is given by Moondrop actually does fit the earphone very well. It's just that my preferred tips are taking a massive beating at this point of time. Moving on to the most juicy bit of the review, sound. So the Variations is a behemoth in terms of sound, and at $520, I think it performs admirably. It peels apart layers of music extremely well. It is in its character to be ultra revealing, coupled with great clarity and transience. So this is one of those earphones that you can expect it to be very fast, clean, meticulous and detailed. But moving into more descriptive stuff, let's first start with bass. Let's go. So at the heart of bass is a single liquid crystal polymer dynamic driver that handles all the bass frequencies, you know, the things that comes out from the big dynamic driver. Sub bass on the Variations, it is creme de la creme because it focuses a lot of sub-bass. You get a lot of sub-bass rumble. It is not the kind of earphone that gives you a very serious mid-bass kick that has no sub-bass rumble. This is the opposite. The focus is more on the sub-bass, and all the micro nuances in the sub, you can really feel it. The rumbles are ultra realistic. Moving into mid-bass, mid-bass is where it sits further back. It is not as prominent, not to say that there is no mid-bass, there still is mid-bass and you do get a bit of a kick, but the highlight of the day is the sub-bass. So if you're listening to more movie soundtracks or larger orchestra soundtracks, you really get the grand scale of things because mid-bass is not covering the other frequencies. I mean, there is no bleed into other frequencies, but because of the way they tune it, it sounds ultra clean and it is actually very enjoyable as well. Mid-range is a highlight on the variations. What they particularly highlight, it is the mid-highs of the sound frequency sphere, and that is to say female vocals sound extremely splendid on the variations. One thing to note is that the mid-range is not those that sound ultra thick. It is not those thick sounding mid-range. It is actually very clean, clear and has a lot of finesse. Some people do not like this style, but if you're the one who likes this style of mid-range vocals, I think this will be a treat. Female vocals in particular sound very sweet and rich and full of details. You really get to hear the micro nuances. Everything sounds pinpoint focused, and although it's very focused, it is still extremely smooth. Male vocals on the other hand, because the focus is on the mid-highs, male vocals on the other hand does not carry the same kind of weight. It sounds actually a bit weaker and not as full. But honestly, what is staggering is the level of details that you get in the mid-range. These things are like, you know, your 8K monitors that are out there right now. It is ultra crisp and ultra clear. So all the micro little details, you can actually hear them in the music with the variations. In fact, it does not take too much effort to listen out for them. This is especially so if you partner it with a very good DAP or dongle where it actually also allows for this resolution to shine. You can pick them up easily with the variation. So when I was testing the variations, I actually did cable roll. So I swapped out the stock cable for a silver plated copper cable, and to be honest with you, I didn't really like the experience. Yes, it did give even more details and resolution, but this comes at a cost. Vocals then sound very thin, in fact too thin. I think it's really lacking in character when I use the silver plated copper. So I eventually switched back to the stock copper cable, and boy does it make a difference. Moondrop really knows what they have done, and this earphone really would appreciate a very solid copper cable. So if you like to cable roll, might I suggest that you use a copper cable, because the earphone itself is very clean and dry and very high resolution. You need to balance it out with a bit of warmth to really show its true character and for it to sound ultra good. Treble is handled by the EST drivers. You know, I think for the past year or two, ESTs have become very popular, and definitely that's the reason why Moondrop also include it into the variations. But one thing to say about the EST drivers that Moondrop has implemented is that they don't sound like those badly tuned EST drivers where they just sound like sandpaper grating the back of your eardrums. No, they don't. The ESTs are very well extended and very smooth. So in terms of treble, if you listen to all your high frequencies like your cymbals and crashes, they do sound very crisp and clear, and it's still relatively smooth. And I think these are the hallmark of a very good EST drivers. It has quite a decent fair bit of air in terms of the mix, and honestly I think that is very well done. I would classify this honestly as a well done EST rather than sandpaper EST, which are terrible. Finally, moving on to soundstage. In terms of width and height, based on the Moondrop signature of it being clean, fast, high resolution, great transients, it is very safe to say that the soundstage on the variations is actually very wide and very tall. I would think that this is one of the best in terms of soundstage that Moondrop has ever produced. Moving on to depth and separation. Depth and separation is also ultra well done by the Moondrop variations due to its very neutral color. Your instruments sound exactly where you expect them. If it's on the left, it's on the left. If it's on the right, it's on the right. You can listen to the barber haircut thing on YouTube, and I think this will do a very good job. In terms of depth, again, it is great. Your four instruments are forward, instruments sitting further back are definitely further back. And finally, in conclusion, the Moondrop variations, for its price point, it's an ultra good performer. If you're looking for something that actually allows you to pick out layers. It is one of those earphones that does it extremely well. It is not the earphone if you're looking for something very warm and lush. These earphones are definitely not it. But for its price point, I think the level of details that you're gonna get with these earphones is truly staggering. If you do not have one of this style of earphones, you should consider the Variations, as it is really a very good gateway for better things to come. Anyways, thank you so much for watching the Super Strong Super Audio Show. I'm really glad to see you guys back again. Hope to see you guys really soon.